I'm here today to talk about taboo, which is like not an easy subject. Also, there are no previous Creative Mornings talks posted about taboo yet, so I'm just flying blindly on this one. Just kidding. Not blind. Not blind on this. Taboo's kind of hard to talk about. One, because I don't think anybody who spends a lot of time confronting taboos or dealing with taboos survives it without getting a little rough around the edges. My life has been a little bit weird, and so I do all of those things. I'm the founder and director at Boss Bays ATX, and that's been 2 years of some really incredible magic. I've been working in the digital space for a bit too, but there's also some other sides of me that kind of inform the rest of what I do. So I'm from a really small town in South Texas. It's called Rio Hondo. Anybody here know what Rio Hondo is? Yeah, well, that's the standard response. Rio Hondo, 2,000 people in it, really, really, really small town. 2 stoplights, people rode horses to school. My parents voted for Trump. That's the kind of town it is. I come from that town. I used to be Christian. I'm an agnostic now. I don't know where I go when I die. I've had sex with 23 people. I'm a size 14, and I've gotten naked for people on camera. Yeah, woo. I'm pro-reproductive rights. I'm an intersectional feminist, and I'm really loud about it. I also menstruate a lot. It's like the most consistent thing I've done since I was a teen. Yeah, just bleeding all the time. Bleeding all the time. Yeah, all the time. It's just the most consistent thing ever. It's great. I listen to Aerosmith and Kid Rock, which is also like really weird and embarrassing. A lot of the things that I just shared, some of them are taboo and some of them are honestly straight up embarrassing. Others are just weird or not expected from someone like me. And the reason I kind of wanted to open with that is because taboo is meant to make us uncomfortable. And I'd really like to invite you guys to be uncomfortable with me today. I don't think that there's anyone in this room who could be like a little more vulnerable than I'm being right now. I literally just put my sex life out on the table, gave you the number, gave you all that, so we're all friends now. So for the sake of getting us all on the same page, I want to define taboo. I think that's the easiest way to really lock in what we're talking about. Oh, that's me. Real cute. I wear this outfit all the time. It's something everybody needs to know. I've worn it to like 6 events and been photographed at each one, and look at the recap photos. I'm like, I don't have any photos to share for this Creative Mornings talk where I'm not wearing that scarf. That's weird. Anyways. So taboo taboo is one of those cool words. It's a noun, adjective, and a verb. So as a noun, it's a social or religious custom prohibiting or forbidding discussion of a particular practice or forbidding association with a particular person, place, or thing. Lots of particulars. Adjective, something prohibited or restricted by social custom. And verb, to place under prohibition. So we've all tabooed something, and we've all experienced dealing with some sort of taboo in our lives. And the reason that is because historically and societally, culturally, we use taboos to kind of give ourselves some safe guidelines as to what's acceptable and what's not. It's our way of reinforcing what's right and what's wrong. It's our way of determining what to share or not to share when you're on stage with a mic. It's our way of living. It's our way of being a people. And a lot of times when we talk about taboos, I think we act like, I'm comfortable with taboos. Or I think like everyone in Austin's like, yeah, let's be weird. We're super comfortable with taboos. And the truth is that sometimes we're really not. And the thing about taboos is that as socially unacceptable as they are, a lot of the creative, successful people that we know, and a lot of the people who are receiving popular moments right now, are hitting them just straight in the face, just going up to those taboos and doing things that are kind of outside of what we normally expect of other people. And that's really encouraging, right? Because we're like, how can that be? Like, how can these people be confronting such big issues and not suffering any consequences? And I'm gonna share a few of those creative success stories, mostly because I'm only 23 years old. Oops, another taboo, talking about my age. And I think these people are doing a really kick-ass job and kind of have their shit together. Let's talk about Yayoi Kusama. Everybody in here know Yayoi? Raise your hands, just so I know. Oh, great, okay, cool. So for those of you familiar, Yayoi is best known for her infinity rooms, and she also, she's honestly had art in almost every major museum in the United States. She's the most expensive female living artist alive, which is crazy because that number's in the millions. She's making a lot of money off of what she does. And throughout the course of her career, she's become really known for being playful, using dots in all of her work, and you can kind of see that here. Lots of dots. Did anybody visit her infinity room in Houston when it stopped in? Yeah, maybe. So her infinity rooms are like those really sparkling things you see on Instagram that they go out into the abyss. It just goes on and on, dots and dots and dots. The way she got to that work is actually by confronting some really major taboos. Kusama's work started taking off in the 1970s, and she was a really big part of some serious political movements. So the first time she made a big splash was she did a nude protest in Central Park against the Vietnam War. Then she sent Richard Nixon a really, really, really crazy letter saying, I'll have vigorous sex with you if you drop the war. Yeah. She then, she presided over the first public homosexual wedding, that was the name, in 1968, and she opened a nude and gay painting studio in New York in the early 1970s. And from there, that's when her career really took off. She's now, this year, she's 90 now, and that was, a couple decades ago. But her work is now at I'm gonna pull the formal name, but it's at a fancy museum in DC. 6 infinity rooms, it's traveling all over the country. She's 90 and still producing work. And she's been living since the 70s in a hospital for the mentally ill in Japan. All of those things are really taboo. She's confronted everything from sexuality to her own mental health, and somehow has had a really successful career outside of that. So how can that be, right? And she's not the only one. There are plenty of other people, and I'm only talking about women today. That's my shit, so that's it. She also says stuff like this: I wanted to start a revolution using art to build the sort of society I myself envisioned. That's really powerful. The cool thing about all the people I'm about to mention, I'm just going to run through some other creative success stories that have confronted taboos, is that they've all created something that didn't exist before, something for themselves that they needed, and then somehow that resonated with other people. Let's talk about Miki Agrawal. Anybody here know Miki? Miki is the social entrepreneur behind Thinks, those period-proof panties that made a splash in New York City with all those subway ads, the grapefruit that looked like female genitalia. That was Miki. She's also made a pee-proof panty for those of us struggling with incontinence. I have peed myself at multiple events, so I need to buy some of those. She's also, she's the inventor of the portable bidet. It's called Tushy. It's for people who poop, that's the tagline. I think that's everybody in this room. And then she founded a gluten-free pizza shop in New York called Wild, which one thing's not quite like the rest, right? But I don't know. Creative people were weird. So she's received many awards over the last 2 years since launching these products, lots of wide success. So another example of someone who's confronted taboo and it's been successful. Madam Gandhi, or Kiran Gandhi, she was the former drummer for MIA. Anybody love MIA in here? Oh, heck yes, this is my people. MIA threw a package of paint in my eye once at a concert, and it almost got infected, but it was really worth it. It was so great. So Kieran has been a drummer, and she's also a graduate of the Harvard Business School. She's really amazing. She's playing at our little showcase next week too, so y'all should come check that out. But she received a lot of heat last year because she ran the London Marathon free bleeding. So she just, let it flow while she was running. It was all over her yoga pants. You might have seen her on the internet. Yeah, she's really crazy, and her career has actually kind of skyrocketed because of that. She's been invited to speak in spaces like this, and it's made people really look at her work in an interesting way. And somehow, although I wouldn't say those two things are directly linked about her, it's pushed her forward. And since I've met her, her career has really, really grown, and I think she's become a lot stronger and more empowering because of it. Roxane Gay. Roxane Gay is a writer. She's also an academic. She wrote the book Bad Feminist, and in that book she talked about the nuances of race, gender, her own weight, problematic behaviors like really loving trap music but wanting to be a feminist. She kind of She opened the floodgates to kind of talk about feminism and talk about what it means to be a woman without, all of the weird societal rules we've set up to talk about these subjects. My last example, Jessica Williams. This girl is my favorite. She's a comedian. She's also a writer for The Daily Show. She's spoken in so many different areas in regards to what it means to be a black female woman in the film industry and the comedy industry. And from that, she's also had a lot of wide renown. She was one of the featured guests at the United States of Women Summit I attended last year. And she's really done a lot with her career lately. I think she's getting her own show soon, and she's got a movie coming out and all of that. So I just shared all these really beautiful stories about people who confronted taboos, and it was just a great thing for them, and their careers have skyrocketed. The truth is, that's not the truth, right? So when you do confront a taboo, there's a consequence. That's the thing about taboos. That's why they exist, is because we've collectively as a society determined if someone does X, they get Y. If someone does X, they deserve Y. If someone does X, they don't get Y, right? So we've set all these rules up. So for Yayoi, that meant, she's been living in a hospital for the mentally ill for the last 30, 40 years. She says that's where she feels the most comfortable, accepted, and safe. For Miki Agrawal, she's had a lot of time procuring advertisements. She had to literally fight the MTA subway system to put up an ad of a grapefruit. For Roxanne Gay, she just pulled a book from Simon & Schuster because they're also publishing a book from a neo-Nazi. Jessica Williams got in a fight with Salma Hayek. She's done a lot of different things, but she's gotten everything from in a fight with Salma Hayek to being criticized by some major leaders in the industry for talking about herself in a way that's self-aware and not just focusing on the apolitical aspects of her career. Kieran was literally the laughingstock of the internet for 6 months. All of these things are really, really isolating. And in certain circles, yes, you're widely celebrated and successful. You find your community, right, when you step outside. When you step outside of what's socially acceptable and expected of you, you find other people who believe in those same things. But at the same token, it comes with some ridicule. It comes with some pushback. It comes with people questioning your credibility, questioning why you do what you do and what it means, right? This is me talking on a mic, wearing, again, the same outfit. Hence why it was difficult putting together this presentation. Coming from my small town, moving to Austin, Texas, I had one ambition, really. It was to be a musician. And as I went through journalism school, I graduated right across the street from UT with a major in journalism. It's a bachelor's in something. I didn't pay attention by the end. I was so over it. I was like, I don't care if it's a Bachelor in the Arts. I don't care if it's a Bachelor in Science. I just got to get the hell out of here. When I moved here, I had all these lofty expectations of what being in Austin was going to mean for me, for my career, for my creativity. And what I very quickly found out is that where I grew up is nothing like Austin, Texas. A lot of the things that I believed were challenged every single day in school and forced me to really think about them, really think about what they mean, really think about who I was and who I wanted to be. And that stemmed everywhere from my professional career to who I was personally to the creative stuff that I choose to do in my work. And going through all those things, I changed. My beliefs changed. I went from being pro-life to being pro-choice. I decided to proudly claim that I was a feminist, although people had been teasing me that I was since I was 11. I think I've always just been loud-mouthed and didn't like bras, you know? It's just, you get pigeonholed. I'm not wearing one right now. Hey, what's up? But yeah, so it really forced me to question some things that I believed in and some things that I had really come to see as a part of my identity. And that's kind of where the idea for Boss Babes ATX came from. Is struggling with all of these aspects of my identity. I was searching for a community in which I could talk openly about these things. I could talk about what it meant to be a woman in my field. I could talk about what womanhood meant to me. I could talk about sexism and talk about the really gray areas, like what is life? What is death? What do I actually believe? What do you believe? Can we talk about it? Let's discuss. And so that's where the first meet came from. It was really simple. We wanted to sit down and get coffee with 20 people, and 300 women showed up. And from there, we had a nonprofit on our hands, and quickly we saw this community grow the more and more that we talked about things we don't normally talk about. Like intersectional feminism, like white feminism, talking about inequality, talking about oppression, talking about the really nuanced things of like asking for a raise at work, but like, how do you actually do that? And no, it's not just, I'm asking for a raise, it's also I'm having to step outside of what my overseers expect of me as a woman. All of these things have brought more and more people to our events, and we've done a lot of creative things as a result of them too. We've thrown markets, we've thrown festivals, we have all sorts of programming, and we've really built a community on this momentum, on this energy. And a lot of people ask me, and the other 2 board members and co-founding members, Leslie's here in the room. Raise your hand, you have to. There. Yeah, she's awesome. A lot of people have said, well, it's so amazing, that the last 2 years you've had all this success with this, and you still got your full-time job, and like, wow, that's really, really beautiful, and it's so powerful. And the truth is that yes, it is. It's been one of the most gratifying, artistically rewarding things I've ever done in my life. It's forced me to confront myself. It's forced me to clarify my position on literally everything. I've lost some sense of privacy too. I talk with people all of the time, and people are curious about my racial history, about my sexual history, all sorts of things. I've also done a lot of things through it that have been taboo breaking. I did a photo shoot nude and specifically sat to where you could see all my cellulite and my rolls to talk about what it means to be a size 14. I've stepped out and criticized people in public spaces that I don't feel are being inclusive. Doing all these sorts of things, I think, considering the community we've built, it's really rallied behind us. They're not widely accepted back home. I was invited back to speak at my high school's commencement, and this was last year. And I was so excited. I was like, I'm gonna walk in, all these people thought that I was a nerd, and I'm gonna stand up there and be even more nerdy but cool about it. I've learned how to do my makeup. I'm gonna really just looking better, coming back better. And then my invitation was rescinded. And I was so surprised, and my mom works at the high school, and so I called her and I was like, hey, my invitation's been rescinded, you know what's going on with that? And she was like, no, I don't, no. And then actually at one of our Boss Babes events, a former high school student of Rio Hondo said, hey, I've got to tell you this. They talked about you at the student council meeting. You were on the agenda. They had pictures of you on a PowerPoint, and they were talking about how you're unfit representation for the school of Rio Hondo. Yeah. Body positivity, feminism, those things are bad words. And so hearing that, I was like, whoa, I called my mom. I was like, did you know? Did you lie? And she's like, oh, I didn't want to tell you. They don't deserve you, hon. And I'm like, oh, thanks, Mom. She's like, oh, I didn't want you to be worried. I was like, oh, thanks, Mom. But yeah, it was a really tough thing. And I think it's easy to be like, oh, yeah, that doesn't bother me. I don't care. It does bother me. It does care. I do care. And I can tell you that all of the other women I just showed you, it does bother them, and they do care. And that's the thing about confronting taboos, is that you will find your community. It will be creatively gratifying, but there's a flip side to that. And that flip side is also beautiful too. So, I almost got real emotional there for a second. Yeah, it's a tough thing to talk about. So all that being said, facing taboos in my life, it has caused a great deal of pain. To be on the outside of a hometown and a community I felt so included in, and to just kind of be looking in and no longer knowing what they think of me or who I am, it's been difficult. But it's also forced me to look at myself square in the face and be like, girl, do you really believe in this? Do you really, really believe in this? And is it a big part of who you are? And the answer continually has been yes. And the thing about that is that it's made me glad. I will gladly face criticism now. I'm like, oh, bring it on. I've heard it all, and I'm going to listen to you, and we're going to take it and move forward, because I've understood the relationship between criticism and feedback on taboos and what it means for your creative career. It pushes you forward. It forces you to clarify. It makes you think, is this really the art that I'm doing? That kind of pushback is valuable. And you might be listening to this right now and you're being like, I'm not gonna step out and become some big social rights activist. This doesn't apply to me. I'm not gonna use that in my creative career. So I'm gonna make you get uncomfortable. Close your eyes. Everybody close your eyes. I want you to think about two things that you've been really wanting to do, but you haven't. Does everybody have them in their minds? Just nod for me. Oh, yay, awesome. I want you to think about why. Why aren't you doing those things? Why haven't you asked for that raise? Why haven't you started that side hustle? Why haven't you changed to an organic deodorant? You know, the big decisions. Think about that. Why? You can open your eyes now. I just want you have this in your head. I can bet you that a lot of the reasons why, if you really think hard about them, they're tied to some little societal taboo. They're tied to some reason, restriction, any number of things that have told you that that's like not an okay thing for you to do, or if you do this, you might suffer these consequences. And I think depending upon where you fall on the socially acceptable spectrum in this room, those taboos can be simple or they can be really severe. And the thing about it is that everyone in here has some sort of taboo. Everyone in here is looking at their life and wondering, what's the next step? What am I going to do next? And being held back. I think that we don't ever graduate from that. I think that's just something you do for the rest of your life. And what I'm inviting you all to do today, what I'm here to really talk about, is that no matter how big or small those taboos are, you are missing out on not confronting them. If you believe that what you're doing is impactful, necessary, and important to the people around you, you are failing yourself, and you are also failing the people who need to hear from you if you do not act. I'm not saying to just be like, I'm gonna confront taboos ambitiously and make it my career. That's not what I'm saying, but what I am saying is that there's something holding you back, and it's most likely bullshit. A lot of the taboos that we've created are societal constructs. And especially like if you're a woman in this room, if you're someone who has a sexual identity that you don't want to talk about, there are other people like you, I swear. And there are other people who share your creative passions, because there's taboo creative passions too. There's taboo ways to play the guitar, like, shouldn't do it that way, or any number of things. Taboos can be little or small. But I swear that you're missing out on not exploring that. And it doesn't mean you have to publicly proclaim what you're trying to face or what you're trying to do, but explore it yourself. Invite yourself to that table and say, I want to figure out why I feel this way, or why I'm getting this urge to do a specific thing. Explore it. You deserve that. And the people around you deserve to hear from you. And that's really all I can say as far as taboo goes. It's painful, it's hard, but that's life. Life is painful and hard, and it's ultimately not safe. And I think when we hold ourselves to restricting what is safe and what isn't, we really hold ourselves back. And considering my hometown and where I grew up, if I hadn't taken the leaps to start Boss News ATX, I don't know where I'd be right now. My life's completely changed forever, and it seems like that's like some really big intangible thing, but it's not. It started with just saying, hey, let's get coffee to talk about some weird stuff that we're going through. Let's get coffee to talk openly. And that to me is creativity. That to me is being brave and being bold and showing others they can do the same. And I think that in this moment in time, this is not a normal time. It is on us now more than ever to be creative in the ways that we feel we should be. And it will be difficult. You will face consequences, but there are people in this room that will do the same thing, and they will rally behind you. And I can tell you that like Boss News ATX is, if you need an example of what happens when you step out, that's what happens. You will find your people, and they will come for you, and here we are, right? So that's what I leave you with today. Confront your taboos, big or small, whether you do it personally or in public, and really think about what you believe, and think about how it affects your work. Thanks, guys.